Welcome to the Labatt Postgame Show. I'm Thomas Frank Carr. The Nittany Lions get in the win column for the first time in a very, very long time. What in football years is a very long time. They snap a 6-game losing streak. They get a conference win, and it was exactly how you would expect this team to do that in that situation against Michigan State. We're going to break it down. We're going to talk about it. We're going to get to all your thoughts and opinions here on the postgame show. Of course, if you're watching the video, you're here, you're hanging out, you really like Penn State football. You sat through that game, and it was a win, and I don't want to take anything away from that, but it was very clearly a win in a situation where that team played that way for a reason. You can play like that. You can win that way against Michigan State. And that is kind of the story of the game to me. Is Penn State was playing without its quarterback again in this situation where Ethan Grunkemeyer struggled a little bit in the first half. They still tried to get some play action deep shots. They tried to manage his opportunities. He did a good job of, it's not there, I'm going to scramble. But for the most part, it was, we're just going to run the ball and Hulk smash to a win. And against Michigan State, you can do that. Defense, big in this game. Huge opportunity for the Nittany Lions to do what they did because of the defense. Excellent job by the defensive line. We talked about that. Could this be a dominant performance from them up front? Not exactly on the ground. 4.6 yards per carry. You gave up the big, long run. Still leaky run defense in general, but, good enough in this situation to get that 28-10 win. And I want to echo the sentiments of the chat here. Let's see who has it that I can find this first. Congrats to Terry Smith. Robert Wolfel says, Terry Smith for president. He gets the win that they needed. Congrats to Terry Smith. He started Penn State the fall. I was a freshman at Mansfield. Oh, wow. Go back in the day. So everyone's very happy for Terry Smith. A very well-deserved win for somebody who has pulled Penn State through this unprecedented situation of firing a coach in the middle of the season. We've been through that once before, and it didn't end well either then. So a big win for the Nittany Lions on this road to potentially a bowl berth. That's what we're going to find out if they can do with Nebraska on the horizon, and then we'll see how this team goes from there. Obviously, the other guy we got to talk about is Kaytron Allen. 25 carries, 181 yards, 2 touchdowns. He is now skyrocketing up the all-time rushing list. I think he needed 300 yards to get there. Now he's got 2 games to get about 100 or something like that. I'm doing quick math, by the way. So 181, I knew he was about 300 off. So he's getting close there to being the all-time leading rusher in Penn State football history and being the sole entertaining part of the offense that is consistently good week to week for the Nittany Lions. And he ran hard today, man. There's a lot of there's this desire, I think, for some Penn State fans out there are waiting for every opportunity to say this team quit. There has been a consistent drumbeat from some people. Chaz Coleman didn't play, AJ Harris didn't play, and there's always the initial question of, did they check out for the season? You watch those guys play. Dennis Sutton playing extremely hard in this game. Kaytron Allen running through multiple faces and face masks to get first downs. Excellent win for these guys. And you could tell they were very happy to get that win for themselves and also for Terry Smith. But Kaytron Allen, MVP of the game for sure. Stephen Light, he says, I'm happy for Smith and for the players. And I'm wondering, did you guys enjoy the game? You enjoyed the win. Did you enjoy the game? And how did that kind of... I follow along with you all. A lot of people over on the Blue White Illustrated message board, and there's always the drumbeat of the highs and lows being the highest and lowest it can possibly be on every single play. American revanchism, I've never been able to pronounce that, says, I'm whelmed. I think properly, right in the middle, being whelmed by this game is exactly where to be, a 28-10 win for the Nittany Lions. And one that I think we saw, other than a very tentative third quarter, where the game plan of attrition had to really set in, You knew where this was going for Penn State through most of this game. And that is why we have Nate Bauer here as early as we do, because I'm assuming there was a good bit of pre-writing. It was good, Nate, where it felt like we knew what was going to happen about the start of the fourth quarter. You could really like put this one pen to paper and feel good by the time the final whistle hit that you could hit publish. So welcome to the show.
I don't know if that's quite true, T. Frank. It was
That's what I was doing.
It was
That's exactly what I was doing.
Yeah, there were some things to write about in the first half that helped write some highlights of the game. The thing that I do, the highs and lows that carried over and followed through for the rest of the game. They were still the highs and lows, but there were also some in the second half. But I just think, at 14-10, with Michigan State driving a little bit there at the end of the third quarter, and I'm going to spoil the surprise for anybody who's not a subscriber to Blue White Illustrated. My play of the game was actually Denai's back-to-back sacks, because I thought that really changed the tenor.
Oh, wow. Back-to-back sacks were not you were being sarcastic, right? It looks like I caught you off guard.
What?
That his back-to-back sacks were the play of the game.
Should that not have been the play of the game?
No, I thought it was obvious as well. Like I thought it was obvious.
Okay.
So I thought it was obvious. I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. I thought that stopped Michigan State, right? I mean, Penn State offensively was not doing much in the second half. I do think, and look, like, I just want to get in front of this and announce like why I'm here. And it is to take all of the bullets for the play calling in the second half offensively. And here's what I will say. And if you didn't bring this up, shame on you, T. Frank.
Well, we're 7 minutes in. There's still plenty of time to bring it up. What is that? Ethan Grunkemeyer wasn't great today?
No. Wind.
What?
It was windy.
Windy. No, I did not bring that up. I know it was a factor, but I did not bring.
Let's be real here. There's a reason why they weren't throwing the ball in the second half, and it was the wind. I'm not saying that right, but the only pass play was a shovel pass on the 13-play drive for the touchdown. And some of that was Grunk scrambling for sure, but they went to Jenny Dell. She provided that insight, and I think it got glossed over a little bit. And sitting in my living room here, or dining room in State College, Pennsylvania, I know it sounds a little bit disingenuous, but genuinely, I am certain that was a huge part of why they did what they did in the second half.
I also think as Terry Smith went at halftime saying that Gronk was playing a little uneven. Some of his decision-making and some of his processing was not good this week. Like, he was much better previously. And part of the problem is the success they had last week of those play action over the middle shots is that when you do that this week and there's not a whole lot of adaptation, and I got to go see, but it looked like for the most part they're running kind of the same game plan. That now this second team isn't going to fall for the exact same. Not everyone's going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe. Like, you got to come up with a second thing. And obviously there was some adaptations. It wasn't the exact same game plan, but kind of the same themes Michigan State was ready for. So the easy shots other than the big touchdown wasn't there. And then Grunk's, it's not pressure necessarily. It seems to be blitzes, like specifically blitzes where he's either not expecting it or there is a flash, a stimulus in his face up the middle. He tends to short circuit. And so like the fourth down play, if he just stays where he is, he gives leverage to the pass rusher. He puts the running back in a bad situation. If he just stays in the pocket where he is and reads the play, it's got a first down. Like Kyron Hudson is open in that mesh concept and those crossing routes. So like there's some tea leaves that if you're watching what he did in the first half where he was a little bit turned up by their blitz packages. And so it became Hulk smash in the second half. And they threw the ball they had 3 passing plays in the third quarter, an RPO that was dropped, a play action pass on first down, a third down pass that, was a coverage sack, and then a play action pass on the next drive's first down, and then they ran it into a punt after that. So, and then eventually, as I said here before you got on the show, you can't win a game against really good teams with the game plan they had in the second half. But the point is, like, they had overwhelming talent opposed to Michigan, so they were able to play the one-note game plan and win the game in the second half with Kaytron Allen and Nick Singleton.
I didn't think the offensive line played well really at all until the fourth quarter.
You mean when they brought in TJ Shanahan?
Maybe.
I'm just those were the two things that happened. Those are like that was a very notable thing that in the fourth quarter they committed to running the football. TJ Shanahan comes in at right guard. Now you have Anthony Donko at right tackle. And I got a review. I know that there were some issues on the right side in the first half where it was getting some problems in the run game.
I did and hand up. I'm not the guy to be like, oh, Nolan Rucci had a bad game. I thought Nolan Rucci didn't play very well today.
Yeah,
just from what I saw, because it looked like they were trying to go to the right side there, and I just.
No, that's what I was dancing around it, but yes, he did not have a great game.
I get really I'm no more qualified than anybody in the comments. Probably many people in the comments are more qualified than me to evaluate this. Certainly you are. But I get a little flustered when, Nick Singleton is awful, but like it's kind of the same thing with Kaytron in the first half. I mean, neither one of them really had much going. And I thought that neither one of them had much going because there wasn't anywhere to go.
Yeah. I thought Nick had another good game. 15 carries, 56 yards. I'm not necessarily interested in the yards per carry because he had a lot of short yardage plays, which he's not great in those situations. But there was a play where he's following his blocks and he puts his hand out on Vega's back and setting up blocks. I saw him. There's one play where there was a subtle cut and he was able to set up his block a little bit, get a little bit better of an angle, and then hit the hole. And so Nick as a runner looks like he's continuing to be on that slight upward trajectory, which for him personally, the running out of time with the NFL coming up is a bit of it is what it is. But for him as the end of his career, I think it's good as a narrative and as a story that he doesn't finish as the team's third back or whatever, where fans wanted him to be in the middle of the season to have him be benched. He is showing progress and signs of life and is deserving of being on the field and getting those carries. That's Nate Bauer. I'm Thomas Frank Carr. This is the Labatt Postgame Show. You can call me T. Frank, by the way. It's always so professional to have the 3 full names. But the great thing is, every once in a while, Party T. Frank shows up. And that's when I've had a Labatt. And that guy's a good time. This fall, nothing goes better with college football than an ice cold Labatt Blue or Labatt Blue Light. Because when you bleed blue and white, you drink blue and light. Born in Canada, brewed in the USA, Labatt has been a game day tradition for fans who know how to celebrate each first down, every touchdown, and every win. Every win against Michigan State late in the season when it's 6 o'clock or 6:30, and it feels like it's 11:30 at night because the sun went to bed 3 hours ago. Not that I'm complaining. When you stock up on Labatt, by the way, you can score big off the field, too. Visit rewards.labattusa.com to get rewarded with a buy beer, get gear program. So whether you're tailgating with 107,000 fans or just watching with friends at home or 409 people in the chat, crack a Labatt Blue Light or a Labatt Blue and make every Saturday a win. Please drink responsibly. Labatt Blue, USA, Buffalo, New York. Want to get to this as well. You did call it out earlier, but we got to get to our defensive player of the game. The defensive player of the game is brought to you by State College criminal defense attorney Matt McClanahan. Matt is a Penn State alum and a Penn State superfan. He was texting me. He said the 9-minute drive as the sun is setting in East Lansing to get a win is his comfort food. I totally understand how that feels for a Penn State fan who's been to 24 years worth of games, 125 games. I don't know how many. Actually, I think it's even more at this point. But here's the thing. If you need a criminal defense attorney, you probably won't. But in those times of need, you need to know a name. Matt McClanahan is your guy. He understands you as a Penn State fan, and he's a fellow member of the Penn State community. So for more information, mattmlaw.com. Write that down, put it in your pocket, save it for a rainy day. Nate, if you're going with deny Dennis Sutton today.
Yeah.
How
about you?
I'm going to also go with deny Dennis Sutton. I was trying to see if there was an alternate, but I don't think that there's really an alternate because they got 8 sacks. He got 2 of them, but he got a lot more pressure than just 2 sacks.
Yeah, everybody. Look, I spend all of the game in the in-game chat on our message board, and
yeah.
The sentiment was not particularly glowing towards tonight. Like, it is
for
what it
all
is.
of the season, you mean?
Well,
or for
certainly for all of the season, and then in the first half, again, it was. There is a palpable frustration from fans that he hasn't finished sacks, and
yep.
Look, like that's been a story of the season. It's not just him. It's Penn State's pass rush has not gotten to the quarterback. And again, this is for you. So this is me teeing it up for you. But their inability to follow their rules, right, has led to kind of backbreaking runs from quarterbacks that have scrambled on them. And so this combination this season has been really, it's impacted Penn State defensively, just the performance of that defensive line up front. I mean, both lines.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't have a closer. That's the thing, is they don't have a closer on the defensive side of the ball. And this is actually something I noticed in the fourth quarter. By alignment, Nittany was playing a little bit of defensive tackle, rushing over some guards. And it was also, they're in an obvious passing situation. So Penn State's going to play pass for like the entire fourth quarter. I think that's where he's going to play in the NFL. I think he's a 5-tech. If not, he's a guy that's going to grow into a 3-tech. The NFL is going to tell him, it's great that you want to be a defensive end, but you're a defensive tackle. His length, his power, I think, as long as he can keep his pad level down, he's the kind of guy that can be that in the NFL, maybe like a DeForest Buckner type. And that's where he was rushing in this game a lot. And I thought the effort, the pace, all those things helped. But when they weren't good, it was because they were bringing a 5-man pressure. And it's about rushing. It's about your rush lanes, but it's also about how you rush. So on the scramble play, the explosive play in the first quarter, Amari Campbell needs to contain the quarterback because the play is not made for him to make the play. The play is for Alex Tash to blitz through the A gap unblocked, A or B gap, I don't know, up the middle. But what happens is he flushes the quarterback, and Amari Campbell has rushed down the middle of the tackle. And as a guy who is not a defensive end, so he's not 6'5" with 35-inch arms, he gets sucked into the block instead of trying to keep one arm free. And like, these are the little details that go into how you let a quarterback get out of the pocket. And so what happened in the second half is they just so thoroughly beat all of the blocks that there was no escaping them. And this is the thing about this quarterback we talked about in the lead up to this game. He's going to take a lot of sacks. Now, he could throw under pressure, and you saw some of that in this game, but Penn State's pressure was just too overwhelming for him in this game. So that's, like in the second half, they just beat the linemen so badly that there was nowhere to go.
He wrecked the game.
Yes.
Which is,
at this level of talent, right? So that's the thing, is like at this comparison level, deny Dennis Sutton is a game wrecker. Absolutely. Yes.
It's a simple analysis, but it's been such a clear distinction between Penn State's defense last year with Abdul Carter and Penn State's defense this year with Deny and who they hoped, in Zariah Fisher and certainly Max Granville, who obviously they had time to adjust to that, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying that position has really, it's not like, this isn't rocket science. It's just, it is crucial to Penn State, I think, to everybody's success, but certainly to Penn State when they've been successful defensively. Who do they have at those spots, and how impactful are they? The more impactful they are, the better that Penn State is as a program. And this year it hasn't been there to that level, but today it was in really crucial situations, and that's the difference. That's a win versus not.
Brett, he's here. He says, I'll never take for granted not being an Iowa fan. How do they watch this stuff? You got to love the intricacies of the outside zone toss versus the pin and pull. You got to love the fact that Penn State started with a trap run that didn't do anything, and then they had the quarterback wildcat. You got to really love the nuances of the run game, and no one actually can pay attention to those because it's something. It is like the most violent ballet you've ever seen, except that everyone is fighting each other and there's no choreographed, like, the other side of the ball is trying to kill you, so everything ends up looking like a mangled wreck.
I covered Penn State basketball. I have covered Penn State basketball for years, and I do think that there's some carryover here. You run the things that fit the talent that you have. And if you don't have talent, and traditionally Iowa does not, that's why you see what that is. And honestly, they lean into it. And so it's kind of an interesting point for Penn State moving forward. And I know that was just a joke, but like what this identity for Penn State is going to be moving forward after this, because I think that a lot of people watched that game today and probably weren't thinking about the wind, but also were thinking, oh my goodness, this is the worst offensive performance. Like, this is the most unimaginative.
Yeah.
Right. Is it that much different from Iowa? Like, I mean, they are in purgatory offensively this year for Penn State.
They just spent more money on it. Here's an interesting. So Greg Fischel's YouTube channel is back. I always appreciate Greg here. He says, thrilled with the win. Did this remind you at all of the Oregon game? A bit lackluster for 3 quarters, but a huge awakening in the 4th. There were some parallels I'll give you of Ethan Grunkemeyer scrambling. So the passing game just not working, and then he's going to scramble and extend drives and then put him in a position to get some touchdowns. And then defensively, they kept them in check for 4 quarters, but then the difference is they dominated in that 4th quarter. I think the difference being how the 4th quarter turned, as opposed to Penn State having to come back in that 4th quarter. But I can see what he's talking about. It just the story ended differently because the beginning was different. Penn State was ahead the whole time,
but not really, right? 3 and out, followed by a 57-yard touchdown for Michigan. I mean, I think that the score and the way that it ended in the 4th quarter are making, I mean, we're an hour out from this, but like are making people way more comfortable than they actually were watching that game, for especially the first half. I mean, even after the long touchdown when Penn State's up 14-10, I think that there was a non-zero chance that Terry Smith's decision to go for it on 4th down at the end of the first half, instead of kicking the field goal, was going to become a critical portion of what happened in that game.
Yeah. So there was a lot, there should have been, and there was, I think, a lot of sphincter puckering in the 3rd quarter when Penn State kind of turtled, because that moment, and this is why I said, like, I don't want to start with Ethan Grunkemeyer wasn't good today or anything when they get a win, but that was informative of the play calling that then proceeded that moment, where your quarterback in that big moment, you trust him to make that play, and then he so thoroughly messes it up that you then have to reassess what you want to do for the rest of the game. And when they come out and they have just 2 drives, I think it was in the 3rd quarter. Yeah, I agree. Like, it was getting to a point where you're thinking all Michigan State has to do is bust off another play, has to bust off another big play, and suddenly we're writing a very different narrative about this team. However, that 10-minute drive in the 4th quarter That changed the whole thing. So like by the 8-minute mark in that quarter, like the 8-minute mark on that drive, you definitely felt a different way about how this game was going. So really, it was that one drive that changed the narrative of this game. Obviously, Penn State pours on an extra one at the end, but that was a huge moment where they took the game from Michigan State in in an obvious way. They did what they did, and they got to win the game because they did what they did.
Being physical, being all of the things that have been fleeting, I think, at times for this team this season.
You got a cold?
A little
bit.
Stuffy.
A little stuffy.
A little bit.
You all right?
I'm, been better, but I think it's okay. I think it's okay.
Yeah.
I
See, here's the thing: is like Nate and I don't actually, because we're so busy, we don't actually like hang out or talk offline. So like this is also like
stop it.
Every once in a while, but not like I'm not like hanging out. Like I don't call you on the phone every day.
Wednesdays at practice. I don't call anybody on the phone. There's no talking on the phone.
One of the times that we did is when we were at Anti-Fragile on Friday afternoons before home games. Brian Heath is here. He says, "Thank the Lord, finally a 2-back package. Low key, met Nate at Anti-Fragile. Was a good bro." That was his Taylor Swift moment. So you are Taylor Swift to Brian. How's that feel?
People that talk to me at Anti-Fragile and are like excited to meet me don't understand that they've got the dynamic wrong. I'm like so flattered that anybody even knows who I am and wants to talk to me that it's like, oh my goodness, like that's amazing. I can't believe you think I'm anybody we're talking to. So that's great. Trust me, Brian, the honor and privilege is mine.
Hakeem the Dream, he's here after Penn State wins a game against Michigan State. He says Tyler Warren, Saquon Barkley, Abdul Carter, Micah Parsons, Ola Fashanu, and no big game wins. Franklin was fired 2 to 3 years too late. He donated to the channel, so I was just going to give it to him. But, like, I don't know. There's a certain part of this. I understand. Like, I understand there's a frustration, right? There's this festering frustration about even now how the season went, how everything's, like, generally how everything's gone. Mm-hmm. At a certain, like, what's the postmortem on this? Help me out here. What do you think is the appropriate timeline of James Franklin slander? Because, like, I probably was like, all right, he's fired. Like, these things we're now in a new era, but, like, people are still bitching about their ex, is how it feels to me, right?
We're still talking about Joe Paterno and, like, and in non-scandal terms, right? We're talking about what happened in 2004 and, right, and the way.
All right.
Like there's still conversation. So no, look, James Franklin is I feel like I have had a firsthand view of the psyche, the broken psyche of Penn State fans, and it is a tortured relationship, and they are never getting over it. And it's not and neither is he, right? It has just been. It's been a tough go, and so they're going to continue to, like Penn State fans. Yeah, they feel the way they feel, and I think like the one pushback that I would have on that, like the sentiment there of no big game wins, which is fine. That if you feel that way, that's fine. If rankings are the thing that you feel like defines a big win, fine. What I am suggesting and will absolutely pound the table for is college football is in the process of becoming the NFL more than at any other point in its history. And you're like, I genuinely, I think this is true. The very idea of a conversation about how many wins you have against top 5 teams for anybody in college football will be completely irrelevant in 4 years. Right. Dan Lanning, like, and again, this is a very firsthand view of this. Dan Lanning won 2 games last year, right? Against a number at the time 5 Penn State team in the Big Ten championship game, and a number 1, I think, Ohio State team, or certainly a top 5 team, right?
Yeah.
And
Early
then
in
what
the
happened?
season. Yeah.
And then what? Right, but that counts.
No. I'm just saying, like,
right?
yeah, at that early, I was just jogging everybody's memory. Early in the season, out in Oregon, Big Ten championship game, got 2 big wins, and then in the Rose Bowl, Nate, as you were setting up,
got slaughtered. And
yes,
do you know who doesn't care that Oregon beat Ohio State and Penn State last year? Oregon fans. They don't care at all. They care that they got embarrassed as the number 1 overall seed in the Rose Bowl to the eventual national champion, right? And so if you're putting yourself in their shoes, right, in terms of what this fandom means, what it means to be a Penn State fan and what it means to be a college football fan, I'm telling you, the results in the playoff that's it. That is going to be where the standard is can you get to the playoff? Can you get to the playoff with any type of consistency? And then once you're there, can you win games in it?
Speaking of, Nate, this is a perfect transition to Kaylen DeBoer. Come on down. This one went final as we were here on air, and I'm just going to put it up here. This is my quick for the visual for everyone here on the YouTubes. 23-21, Alabama loses to Oklahoma. So 23-21 loss. They were down early. They fought back, and then I think they gave up a late field goal. So I talked about this on the tailgate show. The Blue White Illustrated Penn State football fan rooting guide. Hard rooting for Oklahoma in this game because Mike Elko, amazing comeback for Texas A&M.
Yep.
This morning signs an extension, so some of the big swings that Penn State might want to take, another one of them's off the table. And as Martin O'Connor says, Kaylen DeBoer in play big time now. I don't know how to throw this to you, Nate.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what you know, and I don't know what you want to talk about, and this is always a delicate dance here on the postgame show because inside information, all that stuff. But it just seems like, it seems fairly obvious that this is now the front runner for the Penn State job if he were to want it, it would seem. And if that relationship sours because the expectation, as you just outlined, championships, playoff wins, all of that at Alabama.
Yeah, you need, if you're Penn State in this process, you have, and this has always been the case, but you need some luck. You need some dominoes to fall in the right way. And that has always been true. It is not only, it's about who you like as Penn State for sure, right? So who are the guys that Penn State likes? It's all the people that you would expect. They like Mike Elko. Of course they like Mike Elko. They like Marcus Freeman. Of course, who doesn't like Marcus Freeman, right? They like Kaylen DeBoer. Who doesn't like Kaylen DeBoer? Okay, that's fine. It matters what the environments are for those individuals themselves, right? How happy are they at the programs that they're at? And then how do the programs that they're at, and this is the big one today now, how do they feel about them, right? So you can see where this is going is Penn State's luck in this instance is Alabama proper, be it donors, be it fans, be it whatever, souring on Kaylen DeBoer to the point where his lack of success makes Penn State an appealing exit plan, right? And that's and it's such a weird tightrope to walk because if Kaylen DeBoer wins this game, right, or finishes out the season as a one-loss team and runs through the SEC, then there's no way, right? Like there's no way that Penn State. And there's
still an opportunity where there's no way, right? So it's presuming they win out, they make the college football playoff as a 2-loss team in the SEC, high chance of probability there. And then they go on a run, even if to the situation of like, maybe he's not available at the right timeline for Penn State with all the things going on in the transitionary period of not having a roster left by the time he gets here. there's still ways this could not play out well for Penn State, but it is a good first step. And it's funny that we're having a conversation about replacing the guy who could win big games and now rooting against guys from winning big games so that you can hire that person to come and win big games at your school, even though it's hard to really even work through the logic there.
No, it's a weird spot, but so much of this has been for Penn State has been about rooting on success to the point where the minimum threshold has been crossed to be able to generate excitement and say, oh, that's a good coach. There's a guy who's doing something and more than Franklin, and that generates excitement. People get excited about that stuff. But also you can't have them be too successful, because if they're too successful, then places like A&M, who let's be honest. And this is why I'm reading this chat right now, and let me just pound the table for how stupid all of this is, right?
Yep.
Mike Elko and Texas A&M were not in love. They just weren't, right? Texas A&M, I got a message, and I don't feel like this is betraying anything because it's all anonymous, right? In our network, you can DM people from whatever site you belong to. So I got a DM from a big Texas A&M fan who seemed like he kind of knew what was going on. And his message at the beginning of that saga of Penn State's interest in Mike Elko was, Penn State's not going to make A&M commit to this guy before we really want to, are they? Right? The idea being,
So this is like paying the quarterback. This is like paying the quarterback in the NFL, where it's like, do I love this quarterback or am I afraid of being alone? There's a lot of relationship advice in this, where it's like, I had a friend who was with somebody for a very long time, and I knew he was like, I'm buying the box for the ring. And I'm like, this has been 7 years and you're like, oh man, I'm buying the box for the ring. It's like, you either are you're afraid from being alone. You just you don't want to be the team. You don't want to be the one without somebody in a chair, right? At the end of the day.
Because somebody bought them a drink the last time that you were out, right?
Yeah.
It's we've been together and this is comfortable. I see what else is out there, right? I'm aware of those things. We don't talk about it, but I'm aware of what else is out there. But as soon as there is a threat to that stability.
Brian said hi at the bar the other night when we were out. Yeah.
Sure did.
Sure did.
Now my wife says I'm not allowed to go to the bar anymore. I'm kidding. But no, it's silly. All of college football wants to hire 5 people. And everybody's trying to, show up everybody else. Nobody wants to do original ideas. And we knew this on the front end of this process, but Matt Rule, in some worlds, and I understand there's going to be people who push back on this, but Matt Rule was appealing until they lost to Minnesota. Right. And this scoreboard watching has always been a part of this, and people's opinions are flipping based on the results of games. Is Alex Golish, is he a bright young star who's showing all of these traits that suggest he will be a good coach at the next level? Or did he stop being all of those things because his team lost at Navy today? Right?
Yeah.
It's just Jeff Brom, right? Everybody wanted this guy. Do they now? After last night, they lose a game to a Clemson team.
This is what we love to do, though. We love horse racing. We love betting on the ponies. I'm saying no, this is how we cover stuff, Nate, and this is why our coverage has been different on this channel and at BlueWhiteIllustrated.com, where you guys have been giving up great updates over on the site, but it hasn't been the scoreboard watching of Brian Daboll's out there wearing a sweatshirt and now suddenly he's in the Penn State race, and it's like, guys, like that's not how this is actually working, but it's how we're going to talk about it working. So I do want to. I've had this up here for a while.
Yeah.
Ryan asked this in the chat. Now, Ryan's been around here a while, and he's a guy that I think is fairly well connected and has some smart ideas. And he says, fans believe that Penn State will be a title contender within 3 years, don't understand the landscape of college football. It'll be 5 years plus if it happens. As he's saying that this is going to be a destructive reset for Penn State, and they're not going to be able to keep up with the Jimmies and the Joes of spending on the coach, the players, the infrastructure, the stadium, all those things. How do you view that? Because I think that's 5+ years is a big deal.
Yeah.
And so like that is not the tone, obviously, that Pat Kraft is setting. So I'm curious how you feel about that kind of, not saying will it be within 3 years, but like, is there an opportunity for Penn State to spend in that category?
I feel very strongly that it's completely unknowable. You can't. Who's the next guy? Does he recruit well? What kind of budget is he working with? I get what Penn State administratively wants to do. They want to spend on football. And they want to be all in, and Penn State was all in this year. Penn State's all in is and again, there's going to be people that disagree with this. Penn State's all in is not the same as Oregon's all in. It's not the same as Texas is all in. It's not the same as Georgia's all in. It's not the same as Notre Dame's all in. And so you got to carve out an identity for yourself that people gravitate towards. Being in the Northeast as kind of the only game in town for these mega metro areas helps for sure.
Yeah.
But you need to also understand that Penn State is now being recruited against by everybody. It is a national recruiting strategy that is coming into Penn State's territory. And that's like a different conversation for another day. The idea of, it's going to be this arduous rebuild, it might be that there's every chance that either the hire doesn't connect or the hire has trouble. The thing that is super fascinating to me.
Can I jump in here? Just one point here, because I think that part of this is that the talent on the roster, believe it or not, isn't terrible. So again, we all live in the moment, right? And so Penn State's players, like the coaching, it's all a horse race because everyone is like caught up in what we just saw. So right now, Kaytron Allen is the best running back in Penn State history, or you know what I mean? Like he's great right now. Everyone loves Kaytron Allen. Last year, I think at one point people were saying, or at some point in his career, Kaytron Allen needs to be benched. He's not nearly as good as Nick Singleton. Why are they going back and forth with these guys? But the point being that like Penn State's roster is not a 4 and 6 roster. It is better than that. They lost a couple of games this year they shouldn't have lost. So teams are going to come after this particular group of players while there is not a head coach. So like there is talent here that you don't have to like completely blow everything up, but there is an opportunity for a lot of what was done to be siphoned away and go to other programs. I think that's the 5-year rebuild. If like this, if this coaching staff and these players get devastated and go scattered to the wind, then I do think like there's a significant chance you have a long rebuild because you're going from zero instead of going from where James Franklin had gotten the program, which was to a pretty high plateau. It was a plateau, but it was a high plateau. And the next guy isn't going to be just sitting there taking all of that and making it better by scheming it better. There's an opportunity that there's just kind of not much there if these guys decide that they don't want to stay here and wait to find out who the coach is.
Yeah, and they've I mean, you've already seen it with the recruiting class. The recruiting class is gone.
Yep.
Like that's over. And you know, guys are gonna. I'm still committed, but keeping my options open. Right, I'm actively looking other places, but I'm not. Whatever the language is, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's some of them are committing to other places already. That relationship's over. So we'll see what happens with this group of people. I think what I want to watch and what I think fans have a bigger impact than they realize is if it was a short fuse by the end of James Franklin, right? And like, people are going to say that it was a long fuse because it took so long to fire him when there were so many people who wanted to fire him, even amidst going to the semifinal of college football, right?
Yeah.
Just people who were out, right? Part of this fan base was just out on James Franklin, and there was no getting them back short of winning a national title, which he did not do last year. He only got them to.
I think it would have taken two national titles. I think it would have taken two. Like, the first one was like, that one's overdue. Now you owe me a second one.
So what's interesting to me, and like, I think that we talk about it and it happens as it's happening elsewhere, is what is the possibility of a fan as a group, as an organism, being so short on patience because they feel like they've waited so long to get this, that there's no patience, right, about what's next. And so like, that's, to me, that's going to be a super interesting dynamic to what's next is does the next guy, I mean, even that comment that you had up about 3+ years, or 5+ years, do they have 5+ years?
Yeah, like that's not a timeline of mediocrity that at least on the outset of what Pat Kraft said in the press conference, of explaining his decision, that they want to go for national championships and be elite here. And so if it's not happening, yeah.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's nothing, like, not only is there nothing wrong with it, it should be encouraged. Like, that is what you are. That's what everybody's aspiring to do, is to win at that level. But this notion of somebody walking in and being able to do it real quick, the way that Curt Cignetti is the unicorn in this instance. Yeah. Nobody else did that or is doing that. And it's going to be interesting to see what the influence is of fan sentiment
to do that at that level,
moving things forward.
Yeah, to do that at that level with less resources, because I would say Dan Lanning had a pretty quick turnaround at Oregon going into the Big Ten, which is very different than being in the Pac-12, and there's an obvious difference between the two programs for sure. Scott Wilson has this in the chat. He wants to talk about the game. He says 4th and 2, second quarter. Singleton up the gut when Allen was averaging 5 yards. Singleton 2. Wrong personnel on the field in critical situations. Rinse and repeat last 2 years. Can Terry Smith fire Andy Kotelnicki? We are being accused of being negative in the chat. Penn State won this game, and Scott's angry about the 4th and 2 play call, which I agree with like wholeheartedly. But Nate, did we get to Nick is back a little too soon in this? Because that felt like what it was. Now, he got 15 carries, and they went with a hot hand in the fourth quarter. So, like, they did not stay with that. But it felt like in the first half of the game, they were going, okay, Nick is back. We can now run either of them interchangeably. And I think pretty reliably, Nick Singleton struggles in short yardage situations and breaking tackles and getting yards through contact. So that is a thing where I don't know that they should be interchangeable in that situation. Like anything else, maybe that's fine. But there, I don't know. I think Scott's got a great point here.
Because like, trust me, I get it. I get what's being said. I would love to see the data on that, because to my brain, Nick converted quite a few 4th and 1s, 4th and 2s early in the season, and has really kind of throughout his career. Like I get like that conversation is it's fine. I would love to see some numbers behind it beyond just the anecdotal, because I really do think that if you're just, and we've said this before, if you don't have a hole, like Nick needs a hole, that's it.
Yeah.
Is he is,
even in short yardage, you can find a gap that's open, right?
But you gotta have something there. And the reality of the two, if the argument is well, you know that the offensive line isn't going to get you one, then I agree. You have to put Kaytron in for those scenarios because he's the only one that can create something in those circumstances.
You go. I will give you I was looking it up while you were talking. Thank you for giving me some cover. Nick Singleton, 10 first downs on 14 attempts in third or fourth and 2 or less. Kaytron Allen, 16 attempts, 14 first downs. If there's one thing that this team has been able to do in short yardage situations, it's been short yardage situations. Those guys have been doing that this year reliably. I will say though, like as you laid it out perfectly.
Hang on one more time. What was Nick's number?
He's 10 of 14 converting first downs on third or fourth and short. And Kaytron is 14 of 16. So he's missed 2. Yep. Nick's missed 4. But overall, they've been unbelievably consistent in getting the first down.
Yeah.
So those are the facts.
I guess, I think that of the things that we're talking about here, right? Like, how could you possibly have Nick in the game in that scenario when Kaytron is so much better? Like, Nick's number would have to be 4 of 14 for that to be
absolutely.
For that to be real, right?
Yeah.
It's just not real. But yeah, like I mean, when you saw those plays,
also the aesthetics of it. So like, it's the aesthetics of Nick Singleton in the short yardage situations because Kaytron Allen is a big R running back, right? He is a guy who shifty, big quads, is able to power through. Nick Singleton, like the way he tries to run through contact, and a lot of times he's fallen backwards. Like there's just something about the way he takes contact, where he's high and he takes it with his shoulders and he doesn't really get into that power position with that squat that I know he's strong. Like that's the thing is like it blows my mind. I know how explosively strong he is. I know how much he can squat. But there's something about the way he tries to convert on third and fourth down that it works, but it's not as aesthetically pleasing as Kaytron. Yeah. And I just don't know. Yeah. I don't know how to like analysis that for you. But I sympathize with Scott because I see his points because there have been more opportunities missed by Nick. But you're also totally correct that overwhelmingly he's gotten a first down in those situations.
He's trying to run people over. I mean, that's what it is. And sometimes he's successful and sometimes he's not. And Kaytron doesn't. Kaytron gets out of the way. Right. But again, if I'm watching that game, I saw Kaytron met with quite a few of the same circumstances, which is if there's nothing there, there's nothing there. And it's just really, really hard for these guys to get going and do the things that people expect of them when there's not opportunity.
So I do want to bring this up. We're talking about the game again. We can finish in a different place, but I wanted to bring this up because the defense to me is the story of this game. Obviously, they gave up 10 points, so that's going to be kind of in the conversation here. But this was pretty impressive. So after the field goal drive in the second quarter, 3-and-out punt, 4 plays, 20 yards, punt, 3-and-out, 8 for 22. So, like, a lot of plays, not a lot of yards. And then a fumble turnover, and then end the game on downs. They gave up no points and almost no yards through the rest of the game after the second quarter. They clamped down on Michigan State in this game in a very big way. And this is kind of one of the things coming into this game. The rushing yards, I think, were a little more, because of that big explosive play to start the game, they were a little more leaky than I was expecting, but Penn State's defense dominated this game. And I think that just wanted to return to that to give them credit for that in this game. And the conversation about Jim Knowles and the transition the defense has had since the Ohio State game, that they've really found something with this style of defense.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, look, it was the storyline all along. This is not something that I don't think has changed that dramatically from the first couple of games the messenger is different saying it, but James Franklin talking about processing and playing faster is the same sentiment as Terry Smith talking about processing and playing faster. Right. Yep. And so the more these guys get the hang of it, look, Tony Rojas, man. Like it was a huge dagger to this defense, and one that it took them quite a bit of time to work through. It did not help them that they had to play some pretty good offenses in the interim that made that transition that much more challenging. But then they get a Michigan State team that, let's be real, is not remotely offensively of the caliber of Indiana, and got bludgeoned on the first play of the game by Michigan State, and then came back and I mean, look at this drive chart. Three plays, 4 plays, 8 plays. Michigan State had a touch or a field goal, and then 3, 4, 5, 3, 8 for 22, 5 for 45 with a fumble. And I think
30 of those yards were
penalties. Exactly.
Yeah.
30 of those yards were penalties, of which you and I texted.
Kind of they were penalties. The first one wasn't. The second one, I think you can make a case that Nittany threw him to the ground after he had clearly hit the guy's arm, so he knew that the ball was gone. But I don't think that's kind of right on the line of you can call that if you want, but to call him back to back is kind of
My struggle is always that it's evaluated in slow motion, and it actually we're watching the evaluation of it as a slow motion play when that ball came out of his hand and he got thrown to the dirt in that much time.
Yeah. That's a very fair
tough.
point.
That's tough.
A very fair point. There was something else I wanted to discuss that slipped my mind.
Dairy Queen.
Definitely not Dairy Queen.
Blizzards.
Eli says, I wish we were not so one-dimensional. We won't have 13-10 after this season, so I hope that we can figure out a way to be a better dual threat team. Eli, they're going to be a very different team no matter what. Very different team. It's not just 10-3 that are gone. The entire offensive line is going to have major changes. The left side is going to be gone. The senior receiver core, the senior tight end, the defensive line is going to be gone because they're all seniors. Somebody asked us this week in the message board thread of over under, I think it was 13 starters leaving this team. I'm well, half of them are seniors, so yeah, definitely over on that, because this team was built for the run this year, and the run is coming to an end, and so this team is going to be gone in a large part before next year.
Yep. Yeah, it's a matter of how many of the younger guys. I mean, look, there's Darius Dixon made some plays today. There's
Tash played pretty well.
Exists. Tash played pretty well. There are younger guys. Look, they had a problem with running back after Nick and Kaytron that I'm still not sure is really resolved. That they've gotten the type of availability is the best ability situation there, but it's going to be different for sure.
So we're coming down to it here at the end of the BWI post-game show. Oh, Showtime's got something for us. He says, did anyone know where Keg Party is? Listen to the entire Penn State community. About time and so much desire. So happy for the players and Coach Smith. So he's happy for a win. Showtime's here on his regular. Appreciate him. It was a win. Penn State got a win. They have an opportunity to play a bowl game. I do want to ask you about the value of the bowl game and the process for the next coach incoming. That timing is wildly unknown.
Yep.
But the thing we've always said about bowl games is if you go to a bowl game, you get extra practices. And I know that there is this opportunity that no one's going to be at those practices, but is it valuable real estate for the transition for a coach to come in and have that opportunity to evaluate the team if it works out during that timeline? Or is it truly the roster is going to be such a Wild West situation that it doesn't, either way, it doesn't necessarily matter because the guys playing in the game might not be the guys on the team next year?
If you have the opportunity to play football, it's a value. And to the inverse, if you don't have the opportunity to play football, practice, bowl, whatever it is, that's you're being excluded, right? It's Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours, right? You're impacting that progression, regardless of who is on the team. There are going to be some people that stick around. I don't know if it's going to be a ton, but there will be enough that, depending on who's hired or when they're hired, we'll have, at minimum, even if they're not hired in time for the bowl and for them to observe bowl practices, they'll get that film.
Yeah.
They'll have that practice tape. They'll have all of those resources. So I don't think there is ever too much reps, too much film, too much data, too much anything. It's just
You're speaking my language. This is the first time.
Pour it on.
Yeah, we need as much football as we can to make some of these decisions and understand these things.
Yep.
I want to end on the coaching search conversation.
Yep.
So I'm just going to ask you this: how awkward is it going to be to have Matt Rule in town this next weekend? How awkward is it going to be? Like, is it going to be awkward?
No.
Is it going to be not awkward? Is it going to be like you're seeing somebody? I'm not doing more relationship. People are mad at me for outing my friend, even though nobody in that circle even watches this show. So I won't do any more relationship comparisons. But is it going to be awkward with the future Mr. Penn State football in town with Nebraska next week?
No, I don't think so. Because he signed his extension, which, honestly, if you're Penn State, I think is in a lot of ways a good thing for or at least a safe thing for everybody that's involved in this. Even if they kicked around the idea and thought between Pat Kraft and Matt Rule, hey, this obviously Pat Kraft thinks extraordinarily highly of Matt Rule. They're best friends, truly. So he's seen the success. He's seen it up close. He believes in Matt Rule. That is a non-starter to suggest literally anything else. Mm-hmm. However, if you've got a relationship that goes beyond just professional and it's personal, and your families go vacationing together, and then you're in a position of authority over that person, and you've got $1 billion enterprise behind it, then that's where it gets awkward. If you formalize that relationship and make it, okay, you're the head coach of Penn State now, and I'm your boss, and I have to judge you accordingly. And how does Pat Kraft fire him? Right. How do you fire your best friend? That I think it is probably for the best for everybody involved. That is not a relationship that came to Penn State, and Pat Kraft has to earn his salary, right? He is in that seat to make this hire. It is his evaluation of the qualities that make for a successful college football head coach in today's modern landscape. And he is tasked with identifying, recruiting, and securing that guy, whoever it is.
Let me ask you this last thing. If it's not a horse race, and it's not, this guy lost this week, and then, this guy's ahead, and Lane Kiffin, and then, look at the dark horse in the back, it's Manny Diaz, and is it chess? What is the coaching search? Or is it hide and go seek? What would it be to you if it's not a horse race? What would the analogy be?
Blackjack?
Okay. That's a good one.
Where the cards next to you impact your cards.
Yeah.
And you've got to decide to hit or stay.
And at some point you might want to go all in.
Yeah, you could make a big bet. You could go on a losing streak, right? You just might not be hitting the cards that you need, that you want, but what's happening around you at the table all plays a role. I mean, unless
that was awesome.
Unless it's completely rigged, right? Which maybe it is. I don't know. But
it depends on where you're playing, I guess.
Yeah. If you're playing at my house and not in NBA players'
I love that Nate and I listen to the same podcast. Obviously, we listen to the same podcast.
Don't say obviously too many times. People will hate you.
People get triggered. Yeah, sorry about that. Nate, awesome job today. Always enjoy having you here on the postgame show, especially for a game. Penn State wins 28-10. I'm glad we got to all the things from today, including the things outside the lines, because it all matters at this point. We're coming down to it. Final 2 games of the regular season. These things can't go on forever. They may go on for a while. They cannot go on forever. Just like today, somebody had to win this game, and Penn State won the game 28-10. Nate, thank you very much. We'll have more for you at BlueWhiteIllustrated.com tomorrow. I'll have my film analysis. He'll have his post-game thoughts and his observations on Sunday. And, of course, we'll have more on Monday as well, including Terry Smith's press conference to talk about Nebraska coming to town. Next opportunity for this team to win a game and get into the postseason, because as we just discovered, and we all agree here at the end, bowl games matter. So these last couple games are very important. We'll talk to you then.